Welcome to the new season of Be the Good with Kate, the show where guests leave you inspired to uncover your passions and discover tangible ways to make a difference along the way. Here we talk to individuals who are doing just that, individuals from all walks of life and industries. While we have featured guests from Bali to Utah, Florida to Japan, and just about everywhere in between, this season we are going uber local with my new/old state of New Jersey. New Jersey, but why? And why should I care? Well, because your host, that's me, Kate Cherichello Tente, is a New Jersey native but longtime Manhattan resident. That is, until just a few months ago. As I rediscover my home state, I wanted to bring on some guests doing good here. But just like in prior seasons, something I love about human connection and inspiration is how you certainly don't need to be from the same place or a similar background to get so much out of hearing from a person. In fact, I think it is better that way. We notice how we as humans are so similar in so many ways, and how each of us has so much power to make a difference in our own lives and the lives of others. And I hope you are inspired here to start, restart, or continue your journey of finding your passions and helping others along the way. Easy and impactful way you can help this podcast reach more people? Share with a friend or leave a review. Thank you for helping to inspire more people. Now on to this week's episode. Let's spread a little more goodness in the world. Wow. Welcome back. It is the first episode of the 8th season of Be the Good with Kate. I know you just heard the official intro, but I still wanted to hop on here to just say thank you for getting us here. Over 100 episodes and growing, and I don't know about you, but every time I listen to one of these guests, even the times I'm not sure if I will personally connect with them and their background, I do. I end up being so inspired by the end. Truly, every single time, no matter the guest's job, age, location, gender, so on. And what does this tell me? That we as human beings are so alike in so many ways. And in the ways that we are different, there is so much to celebrate and learn from. Lynne today dives into empathy and kindness, two things this world certainly needs more of. She also talks about being an upstander, which is a term that I now love. She talks not only about teaching these ideals to children as young as possible, but also to be aware of how we are or are not presenting empathy and kindness to those around us as adults. What we do matters. What we say matters. To those we love, to those we don't know, to the children who can hear us and see us, and to the ones who can't but are still feeling the repercussions of our examples. We also take a moment to talk about how it can be overwhelming to figure out how to make a difference when there are so many issues in our society, but how to take small steps towards a better world. Because as I say each episode, each of us has the power to make a difference. Okay, before I gush too much about the good people in our world, let's get on to the episode. On today's show, we have Lynne Azarchi. She wears a lot of hats, which I have found out she also loves hats, so how appropriate. She is the Director of Empathy for the Children's Home Society of New Jersey, which is how I ended up discovering her, but she also is the founder and executive director of the Kidsbridge Youth Center, an immersive small group discussion learning lab for youth and teachers. And Lynne has spent over 21 years creating programs and interactive experiences for more than 35,000 children dealing with bullying, prevention, empathy, empowerment, respect, anti-bias, and anti-racism. She's the author of a book called The Empathy Advantage, and she has a mission to teach our children starting in preschool and earlier about kindness and respect and to role model it. So Lynne, thank you so much for being here today and talking with me.
Thank you for finding me.
Oh, you bet. My pleasure. So I gave a little bio, but please tell everybody a bit more about who you are and what you do in your own words.
So about 21 years ago, I became director of Kidsbridge, and now I'm past director, but still very involved because Kidsbridge merged with Children's Home Society. We saw a match and a fit where we can help them with social emotional skills and bullying prevention, and they can help us with resources. And the goal is to help more children, more families, more grandparents raising kids. So we felt it was a good fit. So we're under their umbrella, and yet still we continue our mission: bullying prevention, anti-bias, anti-racism, mindfulness. Kids are still, really ravaged by COVID. Mm-hmm. And so it's those things that teachers are rushing. They may not have the time to teach their kids. And we're coaching parents as well. So it's a mission that evolved over time with bullying prevention, that kids were being bullied more and more. Cyberbullying makes the bullying 24/7. And responding to COVID because the kids are still not recovered. I remember someone said, "Oh, kids are resilient." Well, some kids are resilient and some kids are not resilient, right? And some teachers are good and some teachers are not so good. Some parents make the effort. So there's a lot to do. I mean, if they don't learn it at home, we want to help teachers teach it in the classroom.
How do teachers find out about you or parents?
Well, Kidsbridge has social media. Kidsbridge is in the schools, in the classrooms. We had a physical center, and that's a long story, but we'll have another physical center in a couple of years. But for teachers who may not know how to teach, anti-bias, anti-racism, we can do it. We can do diversity. We can talk about religious diversity. So sometimes Kidsbridge can have those conversations. And the other really exciting thing is we might learn things from kids in the classroom that they have not told their teachers or they have not told their parents, because every child needs a buddy. And we found out like some kids don't have a buddy in their home and they may not have a buddy in the classroom. So we're advocating for three kinds of kids. So we divide classrooms and adults into three groups. And then I'll work my way back to empathy. One are the bystanders who are afraid to do anything in an office, in a classroom. Then the victims, we call them targets today. They're targeted, whether they are, differences, whether the child might be special needs, to teach those children how to have pride in themselves, to care for themselves, self-compassion, and then maybe report to a teacher that something is going on. And then the last category would be those who bully. We don't call them bullies, right? Because they're in this phase of mean-spirited. And so that we're teaching bullies empathy, right? That they're walking in the shoes of the people who they are bullying, teasing, or causing harm. So those are the three groups of people. And on my soapbox, I say the biggest group we really need to work with have you heard the word upstander?
I actually have not.
Okay, so we're both learning new things today. Upstander is a kid, an adult who stands up and speaks out, right? So that we need to do more of that, because
Great.
for, the Muslim girl or the LGBT,
LGBTQ. Yes.
thank you, child, for any perceived difference, that we just need to be kinder and nicer. And so that's the aspect of Kidsbridge earlier, as early as preschool, teaching kindness and respect.
Oh,
So
that's fantastic.
people can check out, to your first question, Kidsbridge, just Google Kidsbridge Youth Center, and it will come up probably under the Children's Home Society umbrella.
Excellent. I'm thinking back to, when I was in middle school years, and sixth grade was so terrible that we actually looked to see if I could find another school to go to. And then, but at the same time, I feel like it was, in terms of the range of bullying, I was on such a small scale. It was just a couple kids and we were in a small school, but it felt giant to me at the time, right? And so I imagine just adding on to that, and what now is coming out, like you said, cyberbullying has opened this whole other can of worms, that it's almost hard for me to even comprehend how hard it might be for so many kids to be just in school today.
Right, but leaving school, like when I left school, there's no more bullying for these
Yeah.
kids. It's 24/7. And children are harming themselves, and we have to do a better job. And then social media, all the platforms, Facebook and Twitter, they have very few people working on it. It really is. Parents, I think, have to be a more sophisticated, hold back those phones. When does a kid really need a phone? Schools pulling the phones away during school. We just don't need them. And there are addictions and meanness and cruelty. So we need to be smart adults and hold those phones back and teach kids kindness and respect, on the phones. I mean, we have literacy, right, with the technology, but we need a kindness and respect literacy that we need to start teaching our kids.
Yeah. And how did you find your way to this field of work, Lynne?
Well, I was volunteering for Kidsbridge 21 years ago. My kids were little, And then the executive director left and she said, "You'd be great at this. You should do this." And my kids were just, starting to migrate into full-time at school. I interviewed, I got the job. I am by training, a museum person. And originally we wanted to build a museum downtown in Trenton, but we sort of kept pivoting to the need of helping kids. And so now we have programs going into the schools, but we don't have a museum per se.
Ah, okay. Gotcha. Gotcha. And what surprises you the most about where you are now, given your position and working with all of these kids and adults?
I am so blessed and so lucky. I love what I do. I feel good at the end of the day. I am surrounded by people who care about others, who like to help kids and grandparents and adults. And so in this venue, it's not about making money. It's really about helping others. So I'm just really lucky. I love what I do when I go into the classroom and I watch the facilitators. And now, director of empathy, I'm trying to enhance an empathy lens to the Kidsbridge programs and to the Children's Home Society programs. I'll tell you, when you watch what's going on and you see kids or teachers having epiphanies that a teacher can see through empathy how to be a better teacher, or a bully, a child who bullies says, "I can be kinder," or I didn't, I mean, it's all about stories, right? A child who says, "I didn't realize the harm I was doing. I didn't realize I was a bully." And then another story, this was a child in middle school who was bullied, and you can relate to that. And she said, "I didn't realize other people were bullied." So, we have the intellectual and the emotional. So this girl in 8th grade, let's say, knew that other people were bullied, but when she came to the Kidsbridge Center, it was like a load off her shoulders. There was nothing wrong with her. Other, millions of kids were bullied. It's the people and the culture and so on and so forth. So giving that epiphany and that freedom to kids is really a powerful tool. And so I'm just blessed to be involved with this.
I love how you highlighted that it was an epiphany on both sides of the spectrum there, and
Yeah.
including adults and kids, and the one who was the target and the one who was doing the bullying. It's that realization, and I think of that just in day to day life with seeing things from different perspectives. Right? I love that word. It comes up a lot in this podcast. Perspective,
Right.
about just we need to always be looking at things from a different perspective, and you just gave some great examples right there.
Right. And if I could add one more
Yeah.
perspective, because I love where you're going with this, is the bystander perspective, that one person can make a difference, that kids should be hopeful and adults could be helpful, reporting to the school or saying no or walking a child away. Even in elementary school, a child can make a difference. So that perspective of, I don't have to be a bystander. And there's a lot of psychological harm that happens to kids or adults when they feel like I can't do anything, or they think of the right thing to do later, that a bystander can turn into an upstander, right?
Yeah.
A child, an adult who stands up and speaks out. And so that's so empowering and so liberating. So that's another perspective.
That's such a great term, upstander. Is that something that you learned from something else, or you there
Well,
came up with? Or
about 20 years ago, I was reading a book, The Age, and I'm always reading and researching because
right.
Kidsbridge and Children's Home is built on research. So I was reading a book by Samantha Power, excuse me. She wrote a book, The Age of Genocide, and this book is like 300 pages. And somewhere in the middle of it, she's talking about bystanders, genocide's going on, and we need to do a much better job with that. And so she used the word upstander, and it was like, the angels
Yes,
were singing, like, oh my God, this is such a great word. So I started using it 20 years ago, and now it's a national word people are using.
that's a great word. I'm not going to forget that one. And Lynn, your whole world revolves around making a difference in people's lives each day. What advice would you have for someone who wants to make their passion about being good somehow, and they just don't know what to do next?
So I love what you're doing. Be the good and be like the action to do it. So here's what I have to say. I have my full-time job, but I'm also very active on volunteer boards.
Yes.
And I love doing it because I'm making a difference. And when you volunteer, you are surrounding yourself with amazing people. You are surrounding yourself by people who don't rush home at 5 and sit on their couch. They are people who want to help others and give back. They are empathetic and they are taking action. So for someone who is listening, like, I can't do that, I understand that. Take one small baby step. Maybe some of your friends are volunteering, go with them, or just dip your toe in the water, and maybe it's delivering a meal to an elder who, can't go outside, or working one day at a soup kitchen, or sitting in the hall and helping a child who's not at a third grade read. There's so many things to do and so many people in need. Just one little thing, and then, you'll feel more comfortable. You get the swing of it. You will be embraced. These are amazing people. And the joy of giving back when you lay your head on the pillow, like I helped, Susan or Trevor today. I mean, it's a gift that keeps giving.
Yeah. And you said something in there, you will be embraced. And I thought, oh, I've got to point that out too, because that's something I see too, especially people when they're nervous about meeting new people, or they are more in that, like, they call themselves introverts and whatnot. You show up to a volunteer event. I have never been to a volunteer event when everyone that you meet is like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you're here. And, tell me about yourself. I'm going to tell you about myself. And there is that just automatic energy. And I'm talking volunteer events in the arts, in the, working with the homeless environment. It doesn't matter. There is that energy. So I love that you pointed it out as well.
Absolutely. Really encourage people. And, try, right? So interview and try. So you want to deliver a meal to a homebound or a soup kitchen. I mean, there's 100 things. It may not be for you, but you tried, do something else and interview your friends or colleagues. Even if you're working full time, it's just so fulfilling. Find what works for you and what you enjoy doing and looking forward to. What we're missing today, many situations, is hope. You can give somebody hope. You can, like an adult in a child's life, one thing I want to do, but I'm too busy, is maybe helping a child read, in the hall because they're not at their reading level. You can change a child's life. It's so powerful. How could you not want to do that?
It is. It is. And I think every one of us can think back to someone, even if we met the person once in childhood who did make a difference. So when we all can be that, like, yeah. Why do you feel it is important that we share these stories of good news and that there are people doing good out there?
So I address that in my book, The Empathy Advantage. It's coaching children to be kind, respectful, and successful. I think that, I mean, as we talked before, it feels good, but I think it energizes people. I mean, look what's going on today. Kindness and respect is in need. Children who are in high school, may not know what to do, which is why my most important message is we have to start earlier, inculcating and teaching our children these values. The other thing is this extraordinary, the media, the social media that's bringing our kids down. So again, the starting earlier and the giving back, that even, like, teenagers can do this and give back and get involved in a cause and such. So, did I answer your question?
Absolutely. I mean, it's just, and you've answered it throughout our conversation as well. It's so important. And I so appreciate what you're doing. And like you said, we can never start too early. And Lynne, this will all be in the show notes as well, but please let everyone know where they can find you, your book, and follow you and learn more.
So go to empathyaadvantagebook.com. So my book on empathy was that 17 years ago, I had a epiphany. Empathy is really job one. And this is how, if I have time to scaffold it, empathy for yourself, right? These are difficult times. We're all hurting, and COVID has really affected all of us, right? Including our youth. So empathy for yourself, that you need to take care of yourself. Then empathy for others, which we talked about, giving back, be the good, empathy for others. But then the final and most important step is to take action. We don't want to feel sorry for the bully or the senior who can't get out to, go grocery shopping or such. So that take action. And that's where volunteering comes in. Be the good. And I love your phrase that do one thing. And you might then end up doing two or three, but just dip your toe in and be the good. Again, wonderful people. You'll feel good yourself. And it's empathic action. And all that is in my book, how the earth needs more help. Seniors need more help. Kids truly need more help. And developmentally, I have chapters by age that they can learn what things they can do with preschoolers, right? What things they can do elementary, middle, high, and what they can do as adults. There's just so many different things and different ways that you can give back. If more people did be the good, we'd be, I think, in a much better place.
Oh, thank you, Lynn. And I appreciate that you break it down by age too. I think that's so helpful for people. And again, it can get overwhelming. We have so many options and so many problems in our world. But like you said, one baby step, one small step, one
Small
thing.
thing.
We can each make a difference. Lynn, I can't thank you enough for spending some time with me today.
Thank you. It's a delight to meet you, and I hope we'll stay in touch.
Yes, please. Keep doing the great work.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in. If you found this helpful, a 5-star review, like, or comment means the world to me. And if you found insight in this episode, chances are someone else will too. Share with a friend to give them a boost today. Until next time, I'm Kate Cherichello Tente, and this was Be the Good with Kate, Season 8.